Welcome to this video. Today I'm going to do a book study on the Light of Asia, written by Edwin Arnold. And this book was published in 1879. And it was such a famous book because it was the first book in English written on the life of Buddha and his teachings. And it spread the knowledge of Buddhism in the Western Hemisphere, which was until then only known to the eastern side of the world. It was called The Light of Asia, this book. The Great Renunciation, the life and teachings of Gautama. So I was really fascinated by this image which is shown of Buddha here. You see an image of Buddha with mustache, which is rarely something you come across. You always see a clean-faced face of Buddha. Now, I was very intrigued, and so I wanted to find out more about this image. And I went to the net to, of course, the net is a solution for all questions. And here I found that this is a Gandhara statue. Gandhara is the Iran, Mesopotamia, that area of the world. So it comes from that area. And you see, this is the original statue of which that is a sketch which was there on the front page of the book. And look at the beauty of the statue. And these are the words that came to me when I saw the statue. Indeed, the majesty and force of character is visible in this sculpture. The command that those far-seeing eyes, the tranquility that comes from leading a righteous life, the desire to find solutions for this is the remarkable sculpture of Buddha. So now I will go through the parts of the book. Before that, I'd like to talk about something very interesting that Helena Blavatsky has asked about in Edwin Arnold in an article. She titled the article was Edwin Arnold, an Initiate, because that is how much she loved that book. And in fact, her love for this book is such that every year on her death anniversary, one passage of this book, Light of Asia, is read out. That is what she wanted. And so she has commented about this, that whether Arnold was an initiate. And she says no, but because he had a sensitive poetic temperament, he was so far transported beyond the bounds of ordinary sense so as to get glimpses into what has been impressed on the astral light. And that is how he has been able to write these passages. And she has mentioned those passages which show that there could be a higher level of knowledge that he was able to see, which I will not be quoting from, but these talk about cosmogenesis and life beyond Earth and the past lives. So now let us, before going through the book, let's look at Edwin Arnold himself. He wrote several other books, but none of them were as popular as The Light of Asia. He also wrote The Light of the World, which was on the life of Jesus Christ. Then he wrote about the Bhagavad Gita, which was titled The Song Celestial, and it's supposed to be one of the books that Gandhiji often quoted from. Tagore, on the other hand, loved carrying the book Light of Asia along with him. And Nehru wanted this book, one of among the 10, 12 books that he asked his father to send to him when he was in jail. This was one of the books. So there were so many other books that he had also written, which were translations from the Hitopadesha, called the Book of Good Counsels, and Jayadev's Geet Govinda, called the Indian Song of Songs. So he came to India at the age of 24 and worked as a principal in a college in Pune, but he lived here only for 2 years. Finally, in 1879, when he was in England, when he returned back and he was working as an editor for a paper in England, at the age of 47, he published The Light of Asia, which made him famous all over the world. So now let us look at some passages from the book. The book starts with this Kalama Sutta, which was said by the Buddha. He said, do not believe in anything because you have heard it. Do not believe in tradition simply because they have been handed down for many generations. Do not believe in something because it's spoken, rumored by many. Do not believe in anything because it is found written in your religious books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. But after observation and analysis, when you find that it agrees with reason and because it is conducive to the good and benefit to one and all, then accept it and live up to it. So this is an advice that the Buddha gave to all his disciples, that you think for yourself and find whether whatever I'm saying stands for truth, and then accept it. Don't accept it because I am saying so. So this is called the Kalama Sutta, which this book starts with. And let's look at the first chapter, which is when the sage Asita, there were during those times when a baby was born, the sages were called to look at the fortune or the future of the baby. And when the sage Asita came, of course, we all know that he predicted either Buddha will be a great sage or a great king. So this is what is written in this book. It says this is what Asita said. He said, "This is that blossom on our human tree, which opens once in many myriad years, but opened ills the world with wisdom sent and love's dropped honey." Such artistic and beautiful words. So King Suddhodana, who was a father of Prince Siddhartha, was very worried about Siddharth's meditative ways. He would quietly slip into meditation. He was not very interested in a lot of princely things, and he seemed to have a temperament of a little serious type. So once the king said, "Okay, come, I will take you to the garden." So he took him to this garden, and this is the description of it. Then it befell in the royal garden on a day of spring, a lock of wild swans passed, voyaging north to their nest places on Himalaya's breast. Gailing in love notes down the snowy line, the bright birds flew by fond love piloted, and Devadatta, cousin of the prince, pointed his bow and loosed a willful shaft, which found the wide wing of the foremost swan, broad spread to glide upon the free blue road, so that it fell, the bitter arrow fixed, bright scarlet blood gouts staining the pure plumes, which seeing, Prince Siddhartha took the bird tenderly up and rested it in his lap, sitting with knees crossed as Lord Buddha sits, and soothing with a touch the wild thing's fright, composed its ruffled vans, calmed its quick heart, caressed it into peace with light, kind palms, as soft as plantain leaves, an hour unrolled. And while the left hand held, the right hand drew the cruel steel forth from the wound, and laid cool leaves and healing honey on the smart. Yet all, so little knew the boy of pain that curiously into his wrist he pressed the arrow's barb and winced to feel its sting, and turned with tears to soothe his bird again. And but looking deeply, he saw. So that is the okay. This is another part. So this is how much he, loved this. Was able to love everything around him, and he felt the pain of this bird, and it drew tears to him when he realized how much pain she would be in. So this is beautifully picturized in this painting of Roerich, and where you see Devdatta coming to the Buddha, who has now in this, of course, Roerich has converted the swan into a deer, but Devdatta is coming with his bow and arrow, claiming the short deer, and of course, Buddha will not give it back to Devdatta. That is the story. So now let's look at another part where what I had mentioned earlier had happened, that the Suddhodana brought him to this beautiful forest, and he saw in that forest sorrow. How he saw that sorrow, let's look at that. But looking deep, he saw the thorns which grow upon this rose of life, how the swart peasants sweat for his wage, toiling for leave to live, and how he urged the grey-eyed oxen through the laming hours, goading their velvet flanks. Then marked he too how lizard fed on ant, and snake on him, and kite on both, and how the fish hawk robbed the fish tiger of that which it had seized, the strike chasing the bulbul, which did hunt the jewel butterflies, till everywhere each slew a slayer, and in turn was slain, life living upon death. So the fair show veiled one vast, savage, grim conspiracy of mutual murder from worm to man, who himself kills his fellow. See the lines, see the beauty of these lines. So this is another passage. These passages are not connected to each other. I have just taken out some passages from different parts of the same chapter. To meditate this deep disease of life, what its far source and whence its remedy. So vast a pity filled him, such wide love for living things, such passion to heal pain. So now we come to the second chapter, in which the father Suddhodana seeks counsel for his son's constant slide into meditation and what ills the world. And he was thus advised: find him soft wives and pretty playfellows. The thoughts he cannot stay with brazen chains, a girl's hair lightly binds. So that's how he gets, married to Yashodhara. Now we come to book 3, and here there is a skillful depiction of the ancient India, and even now perhaps some parts of India which are not touched by modernity. The housewives bearing water from the well, the balanced chattis and athwat their hips, the black-eyed babies, the fly-swarmed sweetmeat shops, now sending a dead man. Okay, now that part is over. Now this is another part where he sees a dead man being carried to his fire. So now look at the observation again of ancient India and the traditions. Today, all this is gone in many ways. Many electrical vehicles have been replaced vehicles have been replaced for taking dead bodies to the crematorium, etc. But earlier days, this is what happened, and many of us have seen all this too. Then Siddhartha raised his eyes and see, fast pacing towards the river brink, a band of wailing people, foremost one who swung an earthen bowl with lighted coals behind. The kinsman shone with mourning marks ungirt, crying loud, "O Rama, Rama here." What we say, "Hey Ram, 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 Ram Bolo," something like that. What is usually said. Ram Nam Satya hai, things like that. So here he has used the words "O Rama, Rama" here. So look at his part of observation. Call upon Rama brothers, next the buyer, knit of 4 poles with bamboo interlaced, whereon lay stark and stiff, feet foremost lean. So he's observed this, that it is the feet which is first and the head is at the back, and also how this dead body is carried. Chap fallen, sightless, hollow flanked a grin, sprinkled with red and yellow dust, the dead, whom at the four went ways, they turned head first and cried Rama, Rama, carried on to where a pile was reared behind the stream. Thereon they laid him, building up fuel. Good sleep hath one that slumbers on that bed. He shall not wake for cold, albeit he lies naked to all the airs. But for soon they set the red lane to the corners four, which crept and flicked and flickered, finding out his flesh and feeding on it with swift hissing tongues, and crackled of parched skin and snap of joint, till the fat smoke thinned and the ashes sank, scarlet and grey, with here and there a bone, white midst the grey, the total of the man. See the power of observation that has been made here, the beauty of it. Now we go to the next chapter, in which Siddhartha will leave home. Into the night, Siddhartha past its eyes. The watchful stars looked love on him. Its breath, the wandering wind kissed his robe's fluttered fringe. The garden blossoms folded for the dawn opened their velvet hearts to waft him scents from pink and purple censers over the land from Himalaya unto the Indian Sea. So that is so beautiful, the description of the atmosphere, the watchful stars, the wandering wind, the garden blossoms which opened its velvet hearts to waft scents for him. They were all encouraging him to go. So then, of course, he calls Charaka, his charioteer, to bring his horse, which is, this is what Charaka says. Wilt thou ride hence and let the rich world slip out of thy grasp to hold a beggar's bowl? Now, Kantaka is Buddha's horse, and this is what Buddha says to the horse. Be still, white Kantaka, be still, and bear me now, the farthest journey ever rider rode. For this night take I horse to find the truth, since there is hope for man only in man. So let's go to the next chapter. Here, while he has left and he is now experimenting, and he does this for 6 whole years, where he is going, he listens to various people, he follows various practices, and he finds so many people in the mountains and caves who are torturing themselves with all kinds of things. So here, like they are holding certain postures in which after a point their body becomes so stiff that they can't move their limbs, and so on and so forth. So here he says, "O flowers of the field," Siddhartha said, "who turn your tender faces to the sun, glad of the light and grateful with sweet breath, of fragrance these robes of reverence donned, silver and gold and purple, none of ye miss perfect living, none of ye despoil your happy beauty, O ye palms which rise, eager to pierce the sky and drink the wind, blown from Malaya and the cool blue seas. What secret know ye that ye grow content from time of tender shoot to time of fruit, murmuring such sun songs from your feathered crowns, ye too who dwells so merry in the trees, quick darting parrots, bee birds, bulbuls, doves, none of ye hate your life, none of ye deem to strain to better by foregoing needs. But man who slays he, being Lord, is wise, and wisdom, nursed on blood, cometh thus forth in self-tormentings. See the beauty of these lines, and how that he's asking you, flowers, you trees, you birds, you're also happy. You are not self-tormenting yourself. You're not foregoing your needs, good food, good clothes, all your needs. You're not forgoing them. How come you are so happy? The beauty of this poem here again. And then uh, there is one line which also appealed to me, where he says that how a poor person helps another poor person. So the line here is, "For all the poor are piteous to the poor." So poor always help one another. It's the rich who are alone. Now, in one part of this, when this is before King Bimbisara becomes his devotee, he finds a whole bunch of goats being taken for sacrifice, and he wants to stop that sacrifice by the King Bimbisara. So this is what he says to Bimbisara. He says, "For all things done amiss or wrongfully, alone each for himself, reckoning with that, the fixed arithmetic of the universe, which maketh good for ill and ill for ill, maketh good for good and ill for ill, measure for measure unto deeds, words and thoughts, watchful, aware, implacable, unmoved, making all futures fruits of all the past." So he says that you cannot absolve yourself by sacrifice. Whatever you've sown in the past is what you're going to get. So all the sacrifice is not going to help. Teaching how fair this earth were if all living things be linked in friendliness and common use of foods, bloodless and pure, the golden grains, bright fruits, sweet herbs which grow for all, the waters van, sufficient drinks and meals. So let's go to next chapter. Here, Lord Buddha lived musing the woes of men, the ways of fate, the doctrines of the books, the lessons of the creatures of the break, the secrets of the silence whence all come, the secrets of the gloom where to all go, the life which lies between, like that arch hung from cloud to cloud across the sky. So now when a shepherd boy had some goat's milk, and he put some few drops into Buddha's mouth when he was lying unconscious in the forest. And when Buddha came to consciousness, he asked the shepherd boy to give some more milk. So the boy said, "No, master, you cannot touch me. I'm an untouchable." So this is what the Buddha says. Of course, this is what led Ambedkar to become a Buddhist and led a whole lot of underprivileged castes to become Buddhists in India. Pity and need make all flesh kin. There is no caste in blood, which runneth of one hue, nor caste in tears, which trickle salt with all. Neither come man to birth with tilka mark stamped on the brow, nor sacred thread on neck. Who doth right deeds is twice born, and who doeth ill deeds vile. Give me to drink, my brother. When I come unto my quest, it shall be good for thee. So he asked him to give the milk to him. Asked that low caste boy to give him the milk. Now, there's a point in the book that when he has strained his body too much in the forest, a group of musicians and dancers come, and they are singing a song in which they talk about how the strings are being strained to produce music. So then Buddha realizes that he too has strained his own body. And so this is what he says: "The foolish oft times teach the wise. I strain too much the string of life belike, meaning to make such music as shall save. Mine eyes are dim now that they see the truth. My strength is waned now that my need is most. Would that I had such help as man must have, for I shall die, whose life was all men's hope." So then, of course, Sujata, who's very well known in the story, comes to him, and she tells him, gives him food, and he gains strength immediately. Such is the purity of the food, and that description is beautiful in this chapter. And then Sujata asks her what her life is all about, and she says, "I'm a very content housewife with a child and a husband." So then Siddhartha asks her, "What's your purpose in life? Only to live? Can life and love suffice?" Answered Sujata, "Worshipful, my heart is little, and a little rain will fill the lily's cup, which heartily moists the field. It is enough for me to feel life's sun shine in my Lord's grace and my baby smile, making the loving summer of our home. Pleasant my days pass, filled with household cares. Also, I think that good must come of good, and ill of evil, surely unto all, in every place and time, seeing sweet fruit groweth from wholesome roots, and bitter things from poison stalks. Yea, seeing too how spite breeds hate, and kindness friends, patience peace, even while we live, while it is willed we die. Shall there be not be as good a then as now? Happily, much better, since one grain of rice shoots a green feather gemmed with 50 pearls. Spake our Lord, "Thou teachest them who teach, wiser than wisdom in thy simple lore. Be thou content to know not, knowing thus thy way of right and duty. Grow thy lower with thy sweet kind in peaceful shade. The light of truth's high noon is not for tender leaves, which must spread broad in other suns and lift in later lives a crowned head to the sky. Thou who hast worshipped me, I worship thee." See how beautifully he sees the beauty of Sujata. "Excellent heart, learned unknowingly, as the dove is which flieth home by love. In thee is seen why there is hope for man, and where we hold the wheel of life at will. Peace go with thee, and comfort all thy, as thou accomplishest, may I achieve." Then, of course, he has achieved enlightenment, and that night, all the 10 sins of Mara come to him. And these are also extremely beautiful, the long parts of this, and I will not read these out. You can pause and read this. So, these are then the learnings of Buddha during Nirvana. Now, let's go to a few more parts. So finally, after achieving nirvana, Buddha starts, teaching, and King Bimbisara donates him the Jaitavana, which is a beautiful forest with streams and caves, extraordinarily beautiful. And there, the Buddha lives, and he also, of course, he's traveling everywhere also, but he also lives there most of the time. So in this book, some passages that I loved. Evil swells the debts to play. Good delivers and acquits. Shun evil. Follow good. Hold sway over thyself. This is the way. Purging past strong and adding not thereto. Complete in love and lovely charities. The final book, chapter, book the 8th. The evening stood between them like some maid, celestial love struck wrapped, the smooth rolled clouds, her braided hair, the studded stars, the pearls and diamonds of her coronal, the moon her forehead jewel, and the deepening dark her woven garments. It was her close held breath which came in scented sighs across the lawns. Just the beauty of this description, where he describes the evening as a woman. The evening stood between them like some maid, celestial, love struck, wrapped, smooth rolled clouds, her braided hair. Her hair is the clouds, okay, and the stars are pearls and diamonds on her hair, and the moon is a forehead jewel, and the deep dark is her garment. So beautiful. Then his father, so Dhodana, the last part of the book, comes to him, and this is what Buddha says to his father. He advises him several. Have taken a few passages. Pray not, the darkness will not brighten. Ask not from the silence, for it cannot speak. Vex not your mournful minds with pious pains. O brothers, sisters, seek. Not from the helpless gods by gift and hymn, nor bribe with blood, nor feed with fruits and cakes. Within yourself, deliverance must be sought. Each man his prison makes. Who toiled a slave may come anew a prince, for gentle worthiness and merit won. Who ruled a king may wander earth in rags, for things done and undone. Before beginning and without an end, as space eternal as sure, is fixed a power divine, which moves to good, only its laws endure. Now, this part is about that that indescribable Godhead, which we call Parabrahm in Hindu Vedanta, or whatever you want to call that. He's talking about now that power. It maketh and unmaketh, mendeth all. What it hath wrought is better than had been. Slow grows the splendid patterns that it plans, its wistful hands between. It seeth everywhere and marketh all. Do right, it recompenseth. Do one wrong, the equal retribution must be made. So here there are more about this whole how the past and is the reason for our present. And I will not go into all this. There's still more of the same philosophy, and there is much beauty in all this. So the last passage is this: the dew is on the lotus. Rise, great sun, and lift my leaf and mix me with the wave. Om Mani Padme Hum. The sunrise comes. The dewdrop slips into the shining sea. Thank you, and I hope this is useful for your studies. And bye-bye.